You are now
Chillin with
Treyce's parents. We have arrived in Washington, D.C. Took the train down from New York City today on my birthday. We arrived in Union Station here in D.C. We're looking for the subway to take us to our hotel for the next few nights. The subway red line takes you from Union Station to Metro Center, where the Grand Hyatt connects right to the subway stop. The Grand Hyatt is only a few blocks away from the National Mall, where all the action is. The Baker Babes have made their way down the East Coast and are now in Washington, D.C. And we found the White House. We've been told this is where the president lives. We're gonna see if they might let us take a little trip inside and check out the inside of the house a little bit later. We're just gonna go ask, see what they say. I mean, the worst they can say is no. What do you think about trying to go check out the inside of this little house?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I mean, we'll just tell them that we're here from Washington State. I'm sure they're gonna let us in.
Yeah, we traveled a long ways away, and we really like all the old presidents that used to live here, and we just want to know a little bit more.
Yeah.
It actually worked. They let us in. Here is the front yard of the White House. Passed through all the security clearance, checking our IDs multiple times. There's the president's house right there through those doors. We are inside the White House. Entered in the East Wing, and now we're in the hallway that connects over to the residence. The theater room. It's very red. We're now in more of the executive residence of the White House. These spaces definitely look like they're more for show. They're a lot more formal, where the West Wing is for more of the daily work that gets done. Here is the East Room, where they host receptions and events. This room has also hosted the bodies of Abraham Lincoln and JFK to lie in state after their assassinations as part of the ceremony for public viewing and paying final respects. Here, George Washington. Dolly Madison saved up from the fire in the War of 1812 when the British tried to burn down the White House. Here is the Green Room, where I guess it's used for sitting and looking at old things on display at the White House with green colored walls. Lots of paintings. And the view out of the White House of the South Lawn, looking out towards the National Mall. I think this is where they do a lot of events, the outside events. I'm out here on this grass. We have now entered the Blue Room. This one, the walls have a yellow wallpaper, but the curtains are blue, and the carpet behind us is blue. So I guess that's where the name of the Blue Room comes in. And if red painted walls with old paintings and old things is more your style, you'll definitely love the Red Room. We are now entering a couple dining spaces.
Dining room.
These aren't part of the private living quarter dining room of the president, but they do host smaller business events and things like that in these spaces. Our White House tour is coming to a close as we're back to the foyer of the White House. We're going to take a quick photo with the presidential seal here inside the White House, and we're going to head out to the National Mall, check out some other monuments today, and see what else Washington, D.C. has for us. Overall, the White House tour was pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely the most famous house in America, the most iconic, so it was cool just to be able to go in and check it out. In actuality, you definitely have to submit your name for a White House tour through your local congressperson. So we did that with our Southwest Washington representative, and they were super great to work with. Next up, we have walked over to the Lincoln Memorial. This one is easily the coolest memorial here in DC. I mean, just the sheer size of him, and that he just sits there in his chair and looks out over the National Mall. It's just, every time I look at it, I just can't believe how big it is. Probably have to see it in person, but it is so cool. The other thing that I love about the Lincoln Memorial is this is the very place on the steps out front that Martin Luther King gave the I Have a Dream speech, looking out over the reflecting pools. Martin Luther King had the same view that Abraham Lincoln has every day when he gave the speech.
This, of course, was his I Have a Dream speech, delivered on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
The Martin Luther King monument is a fairly new monument to Washington, D.C., but it is super cool the way it's carved out of the stone and how big it is. Very impressive. We're here at the National Archives Museum to see a couple important documents to the history of the United States of America. Here they have the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. So we're gonna head on in here and see these documents that they have here in this museum. We have made it into the rotunda where the documents are on display. Once you're in here, there's not really any lines to line up in to see the documents. You kind of just kind of just cram in wherever you can fit in, type of deal. So let's see where they're at here. Some artwork up on the walls of our founding fathers that helped draft these documents. And then here is the Declaration of Independence. You can see here that the upper part is still legible, but as you scroll down the page, it's pretty faint. There's been a lot of fading over the years, but you can still make out where John Hancock signed it. His signature is the biggest of all the ones on the page. And now we're waiting to see the Constitution of the United States of America. There's the first page down the way. As we all know, it starts with "We the People" in the preamble that you can see pretty clearly. Pretty cool. These pages are big too. They're gotta be 2 feet wide, so like 24 by like 30 tall. They're big. We have set up a tour of the U.S. Capitol with the intern from the office of our Southwest Washington congressperson. This is the crypt below the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. The original intent of the crypt was to use it as a gravesite for George Washington, but they later found out in his will he requested to be buried at Mount Vernon. We are now inside the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. You can see a lot of tour groups, some art, a lot of statues. Each state gets to choose one statue to place in here. And then if you look straight up, there's some artwork inside the top of the dome. It is called the Apotheosis of Washington, a tribute to George Washington.
On the top of the, you would think it would be on the ceiling. It's actually not on the ceiling. It's suspended down like this. But it's the apotheosis of George Washington. He's being lifted into the heavens.
We are now on the balcony of the U.S. Capitol building. Came in. We are on the balcony of the U.S. Capitol building. And this is the old Senate chamber where the Senate used to meet in the 1800s. And then later, the Supreme Court used it for a while. We're here at Arlington National Cemetery and found the gravesite of John F. Kennedy Jr. and the eternal flame that burns right here at his grave. We are now at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery, right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm actually doing the voiceover after the fact, just because of the required silence during this ceremony that actually takes place continually. But yeah, this is quite an amazing thing to see in person. Just from doing a little research, everything looks like it's based off of the number 21, similar to like the 21 gun salute. But the soldier will take 21 steps on the mat, then stop for 21 seconds, and then take another 21 steps back until his shift is over, and then they change out the soldier.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Sergeant Hudson of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing. Thank you.
I believe once an hour they switch out the guards like they are doing right now. was trying to find some info on this wreath ceremony that we're watching, and it looks like on the Arlington National Cemetery website you can go on there and submit your group of 4 to be part of the ceremony that happens once per day at 11 a.m.
Appreciate up. All right, up.
We were also able to visit many of the museums, like the Holocaust Museum and the National Air and Space Smithsonian Museums with all the planes and aircrafts. Another super cool museum was the Smithsonian American History Museum that had a lot of artifacts belonging to historical figures like George Washington, his chair that was in his house, that was by his bed. And then one of the most prized possessions they have is the hat that was worn by Abraham Lincoln the night he was assassinated. And that's gonna wrap up our trip to Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're heading home.